Okay, thank you very much. Good evening to you all. I have to read. I get so nervous that I can't think. So I do everything with reading, and I'm not even that good at that. But I'm going to do my best. So good evening, and it's good to be sharing with you all this evening this powerful logotherapeutic technique that I'm very passionate about. I hope you're all prepared by reading over the theory of logotherapy interpretation of dreams and also going over my client's dream as she initially sent it to me. On the first slide that I'm going to share with you, you'll see in pink the questions that I shared. I started the whole conversation off on aspects of my client's dream in order to make sense of what she actually saw in her dream. It wasn't all clear to me straight away. And as a therapist, if I don't grasp as closely as possible what my client is sharing, I'm not going to be able to help her to the best of my ability. Okay. The initial questions I asked of my client's dream. I left my shoes. Did you leave them at home or only realize at the function? Could just see the rooftops. Were you higher up, like on a hill, looking down on the rooftops? And I said I could go back. Go back to where? Um, okay. Everything was back. I don't understand. What was everything that was back? Couldn't remember which way to turn. Where were you going? Okay. So once I'd asked the first questions, my client responded, don't want you to evaluate, just need to express the feelings. Had a stressful week with one of our mission pastors going rogue. He bought property secretly after after using private donor funds, much the same as using donations to the mission, without telling the team of the acquisition of property, which was put in his wife's name without our knowledge, until after the fact, when we told him that we had found out. My husband and I were very hurt by this. He has eaten at our table every week since we opened the mission, and even sat with us last week and said nothing. We are naturally hurt by his deception and know things will change now, and our focus will change with it. I'm extremely sad, as his actions have caused a ripple effect that will form a tsunami. And my big hurt is the mission children will suffer, his kids and our mission. So I believe the shoes represent our walk. We are at a crossroads, and it is presently a dark time for us. We are sad and just want him to explain why. All we offered was friendship, and God brought such blessings to him, and yet he remains arrogant and silent. Now we will have to take different paths. Okay. My client knows that I do LDI, and perhaps with her being a staunch Christian, she may have been a bit worried about what it involves. I realized that and wanted to briefly clarify with her what I do and how it works, because I was sure from my previous client LDI experiences that an LDI in her dream would be helpful to her. So I wrote back. Dreams are about you and your current emotional state, your spiritual and unconscious dimensions, helping you to make sense of the dilemma you're facing and bring meaningful answers forward to your conscious to help you through whatever your current struggle might be. I knew it was something that made you feel very lost and unsettled, and even stripped of your footing, naked feet, wanting to be secure and safe underfoot again, and maybe hoping to rely on your husband's support to help you with that, because your pain is deep over this incident due to the betrayal of trust. This has obviously been extremely painful for you. There's lots more I could say. You said you didn't want me to, but look out for what is the meaning message of your dream that is coming uniquely to you. An answer for helping you through your pain right now, an answer that is already inside of you as a spiritual human being, maybe to remain on the path of service, because that's where you find your healing strength. Okay. So knowing how busy I am, my client responded. Didn't want you to spend time after a heavy day at work. I have mission today and will continue as long as we can. Then, to give some more reassurance, I responded, I do my best to stop everything for someone in need. That's my life calling. I'm here for you. And from there on, my client and I pressed forward by working together to decipher her dream in search of the inspiring, motivating, and strengthening meaning message it held. I was able to expand on my client's dream after she responded to the initial question that I asked on it for clarification, making any corrections where necessary, and finding some more answers, which came to light further on in our backward and forward rainbow emailing conversations. Whoops, there we go. So this is how the dream is expanded. Hi, Pan. Woke up after a dream. I was very anxious. I dreamed we were at a function, and somehow I left my shoes at the function when we left. Now awake in real life, I have absolutely no sense of direction, and my husband and I had gone a block or so from the place and around the corner and could see the rooftops of the place where the function was held. My husband pointed at them, and I said I could go back. Going back to the function, I got around the corner, and everything was black. And it had somehow rained. I was in a large city and had to cross at stoplights, which were red. There was a homeless person lying on the ground under a dumpster bin. I prayed for them. I managed to find the hotel, but then couldn't remember how to find the banquet room where the function was being held. So asked for housekeeping. I got the shoes and left, but once on the street, couldn't remember which way to turn to get back to my husband. I knew I would have to wait for my husband to find me. I suddenly woke up, anxious and feeling teary. Right now, about it. Only dream I have remembered in many years. Okay, let's stop the share. Okay, so let me explain how I approach LDI with my clients. I requested that we do the interpretation via email instead of WhatsApp, because the backward and forward questioning and answering is in different colors and fonts and or formatting each time creates quite an interesting rainbow-looking interpretation, which is easier to do via email. The different colors or fonts and formatting help to lessen confusion each time, explore the client's dream a little bit more. I let the client know which color or font I'm using in each email so that they can quickly look through the previous work on their LDI for new questions or information to save time, and they do the same for me in their responses. I give my first impression on the client's dream and ask them to go through that and see what they think about my suggestions for the interpretation and ideas that have come up for me out of the pictures they have painted in sharing their dream. I make it very clear that in the end, only they will know what the true answers and meaning of their dream is. It is their dream and uniquely theirs alone. I only hope to guide them to their answers and the meaningful message of their dream. I hope that my initial thoughts on the dream are on the right track. And once I've given them some idea of how LDI works, I ask my client to let me know if they have ideas of their own for the interpretation of the different aspects of their dream and what the meaning message of their dream could be according to the content and clues in their dream. Every single inclusion in the client's dream has some meaning or significance to the client in the here and now of their lives, whether they are aware of it or not. So it is important for the therapist to take note of everything that the dreamer has shared about their dream and to make sure there's no other details the dreamer might have forgotten to mention. Taking the 5 senses into consideration can help to expand on their dream. Was yours or the other person's voice in the dream angry? How angry? Loud and screeching? Were there tears, etc.? From answers to such clarifying questions, we would be able to discern more clearly the client's emotions and even the way they are perceiving the emotions of the other or others who they have included in their dreams symbolically or otherwise. An angry boss, maybe. An abusive husband, for instance. Because their dreams are about the here and now of their lives, something difficult they might be dealing with, some hard decision they might need to make, answers they need to find, fears and other emotional struggles they are facing, and so on. All of this will be played out in their dream, and most often it would be played out symbolically, made up of symbols drawn from something they have seen, read in a book, watched on television, or heard on the news. Whatever happens, the client's true emotions at the time of their dream will come through their dream, and this is often quite evident. For instance, a person being chased in their dream might be feeling fearful of someone who is hounding or abusing them in their current life situation. A person who finds himself naked and exposed in their dream might be feeling judged or have made an error at work and feel ashamed and exposed, as if everyone can see what they did. If a person was bullied and abused in their past and still has struggles in their adulthood as a result of their past abuse that has not yet been faced or worked through, those struggles might still be affecting them in their current day adulthood. Their behaviors, actions, reactions, choices they make, habits, sense of responsibility, socializing skills, sense of security and safety in the world, and so on. Working on the why for the fear reaction in their dream, for instance, might open up an area for the therapy of a yet unexplored past experience for the client. LDI is truly a beautiful technique, a kind of personal revelation to help us through difficult times. LDI can't be rushed. It's spiritual work that has to be deeply felt and thought out with the dreamer in our quest together as client and therapist for their answers. And of course, this is something you can learn to do for yourself, find the meaning messages of your own dreams. So in our backward and forward correspondence, I would always keep the client's dream at the top of the emails throughout and always in the same color when we are doing the rainbow responses. I copy and paste the dream and our rainbow interpretation thus far into each new email as we progress with the interpretation. And we just add to it each time we email back to each other. Okay, so now I'm going to do the breaking down of the client's dream and to avoid making it too long. This is a summary of our final conclusions on each aspect of her dream. For this client, note that she is actually one of my closest friends in the world, and therefore I already have a lot of background on her story because of the many previous shares we've had with each other over the years. So, client. Hi, Pan. Woke up after a dream. I was very anxious. I dreamed we were at a function. I responded, I think you dreamed about the banquet room because it hurts you that the pastor sat and ate with you at your table so often as a close and trusted friend, and that's the source of why you feel so let down and betrayed. Client, and somehow I left my shoes. So I'm going to come back to the story of the shoes later on in the presentation because in a roundabout way, they resulted in my client discovering for herself the meaning message of her dream. Okay, client. Now in real life, I have absolutely no sense of direction, and we had got a block or so from the place. I responded, of course, you are so hurt that you are feeling lost and have no real answers to this dilemma. You need to be comforted and understood at this time because it's such an insult on the purity of your beautiful and loving soul that is creating this anguish in you. Client, around a corner and could just see the rooftops. Then I asked the question, were you higher up, like on a hill looking down on the rooftops? No, there were trees and we could see the tops of the buildings. My husband pointed to them. I responded, so seeing as your husband pointed to the rooftops and trees, pointed them out to you, it's as if the trees might represent a lack of your husband's support for your feelings or acceptance of your needs in this situation, which you already know by the blocking out of his view of the full picture of the buildings. Everything feels kind of divided right now. The trees are blocking out the full view, probably of how this will all pan out in the end. You are struggling for the first time in a while. not feeling as though you have any control of this situation that has presented itself to you, mostly because this time it's a situation that is hurting you deeply. I believe that on an inner child level, it's kind of shattered your sense of peace and trust and sense of security in being and belonging. I bring up the inner child level because I already know that my client has an inner child struggle due to a past of child abuse inflicted on her. Okay. Client. And I said I could go back. And I asked her go back to where, and that's when she said to the function. I responded, being so forgiving and loving, you knew that you could go back to as close as to the way it was before, or you certainly wished and hoped you could. Client. Don't know why we were walking. My husband's back was sore. That's why he directed me to go back to the banquet room. I responded, probably walking because there doesn't seem to be an easy and comfortable way for you to negotiate this uncomfortable situation you find yourself and your husband in. You know that he knows that the mission and work you do is where you're happiest. And although he's also upset about this and hurting, taking a lot of weight on his back because of it, you believe and hope that he won't make it impossible or try to stop you from going back to what you love to do. Client. I got around the corner and everything was black, and it had somehow rained. I responded, sounds to me again that you just don't know which way to turn at this time. The whole situation is too dark for you to bear right now. But then it somehow rained, a feeling of maybe it's going to be all right, a sense of hope, maybe tears in the rain, that heaven understands your sorrow and will help to wash the whole situation clean, wash away the darkness of it all. Your spirit is witnessing this to you because you trust in the Lord, that he is with you in the darkness of this time. Client, I was in a large city and had to cross at stoplights. I had asked the client what color the stoplights were when she arrived at them. She said red. If I'd not thought to ask her, I would have missed the idea that came to me about that. I responded, you understand that there is a bigger picture and guiding lights to protect you across the dangers, to stop and think before reacting. And again, your spirit witnessing to you that you are not alone. You stand strong and firm and find strength in your way. If the red light tries to stop you, you push forward anyway, because deep down you know that your life has purpose, that no red light can take away from you. And in the very next sentence, we see the call from life to you. Client, there is a homeless person lying on the ground under a dumpster bin. I prayed for them. I responded, focusing on the bigger picture reconnects you with your true purpose in life, to serve and be there for those in need, not just in need of money or food, etc., but in need of your genuine love and the purity of your heart, something you know you still have to give and want to give. This is a very important feature of who you are. In your current painful situation, you somehow identify with this lost and abandoned soul under the dumpster bin and can feel his emptiness and anguish, as if transferring your own current emotions into this person in the dream. And so you react out of, you reach out to help him, to help the person. In so doing, you are embracing your own value, worth, and purpose, and you are symbolically, unconsciously reaching out to help yourself also. Client, I managed to find the hotel, but then couldn't remember how to find the banquet room. I responded, just struggling to know how things could ever be the same again, how you could get back to those good times that have been tainted by this man's deception and betrayal, feeling lost in the moment of your suffering. Client, so asked for housekeeping. I got the shoes and left, but once in the street, couldn't remember which way to turn. I knew I would have to wait for my husband to find me. I responded, is it possible that right now You need more from your husband on an emotional level, more gentle understanding of where you are at this in all of this. A lot of your fear and hurting could stem from your past, where you were betrayed by those who should have been what they were meant to have been for you. So this pastor this pastor that you felt you could trust completely has really let you down. A feeling and struggle you felt many times in your past, just as I did in mine. You expect more, and it was taken away by deception. You are so disappointed. You need your husband's compassionate understanding right now to help you to find your way back to a sense of peace and direction. But you already know he's too wrapped up in his own struggle to find you where you are, or to think about your needs in all of this. Client, I suddenly woke up so anxious. I'm feeling teary right now about it. Only dream I have remembered in very many years. It was frightening. I responded, of course you woke up feeling anxious. Your dream allowed you to really feel your emotions instead of trying to deny them or trying to be strong. Sometimes it's necessary to really feel what has hurt us and to not try to reason and pray it all away. It is so important to be real in our dealing with those pains instead of trapping them inside and allowing them to fester or be trodden on by those who don't understand and choose to rather react angrily or loud. There's a little child inside of you who just wants someone to hold you with gentle understanding right now and tell you everything's going to be all right. Then I told her, I'm still here with you. I can't hold you, my dearest friend, because she lives on the other side of the world. But I can hold you in my heart and in my prayers. I will always be here for you, no matter what. Yeah. The meaning message of my client's dream is shining through, and she comes to it on her own in her continued responses. Further on in our interpretation of my client's dream, we went back to the discussion on the shoes, which helped build a bigger picture of my client's emotional state at the time of her dream and why she dreamed what she did in the way that she did. Client, just a note, my shoes were Birkenstocks, the same that my friend wears. Her husband and my husband have been at loggerheads, and so it has put a strain on our friendship. In my dream, I found the shoes, but I was holding them. I didn't put them back on when I got in the street. I responded, you also didn't want to throw them away or leave them behind because you value your friendship with her. You wanted to keep your connection with her, but your husband's problem with her husband and now her involvement with the pastor who has caused this hurt is threatening your future relationship with her. The shoes, I believe, represent your emotional hurt in connection with your friend. You took them off and left them because of your current feeling of disconnection with her, because of her knowing about the pastor's betrayal and not sharing that with you. You couldn't remember where you left your shoes or which way to go, because you almost feel like, how could this have happened? And there's no going back to the friendship you once had. But at the same time, it's hurting too much to even allow such thoughts in you because you really treasure your friendship with her. You love her with a pure heart. It's an inner child love and pain, I believe. But it's too hard to think about it. So you went back and are still clinging to those shoes, which you are not ready to put back on your feet or leave behind, feeling lost in this whole dilemma. Those shoes are the same as hers. So I believe it is definitely in connection with her that they were included in your dream. I can literally feel your anguish over all of this. How awful to face such things. Heartbreaking. I'm so grateful that you entrusted me with your interpretation, and I pray I will never let you down as far as trust goes. Trust is the spiritual blessing of your dreams, and I pray your time at mission will continue to be blessed and full and fulfilling for you. The client answered, I know it will. There are 2 kids that have just got their mom back from 6 months in rehab. These are the kids that lived on the beach. I'm taking them and their mom a disperser of food and some gifts. daily devotionals, devotional for the mom, and kids' Bibles for the children. They are possibly represented by the homeless person in my dream. I was happy in my dream when I saw and prayed for the homeless person, which seemed weird, but it may represent their little family. I responded, yes, the homeless person in your dream surely does represent your purpose, your unique spiritual purpose, which you were reminded of in your dream. In other words, the homeless person represents all the people you love and help, including this little family on the beach. That is indeed the meaning message of your dream, your purpose that gives your life meaning and reason to keep on keeping on with what makes you happy, making others happy wherever you possibly can. So in conclusion, I wrote, I do hope that this interpretation has given you some sense of peace and has guided you to your own answers, or at least some semblance of peace as you go through this difficult time until you can find your way back fully to yourself and your beautiful reality and purpose once again. And my client responded, Pan, thanks so very much for your insight and help. I see clearly an understanding of my life journey. I've never had a close friend apart from you. Seems the Lord knows that and continues to bless me with this friendship of a lifetime. You will always remain the wind beneath my wings as you bring clarity and perspective back to those dark life experiences. I feel that as long as I continue in the Lord with love and forgiveness, I will be able to overcome any obstacle that may block the path ahead. There is no darkness that is dark to him. He is the lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. There is always a way when you seek it. Thank you for being you. Okay, so that's it. I will be including extra slides. I mean, if we had more time, I would have read through all the rest, but I'll include extra slides at the end of the presentation, the YouTube presentation, which will clarify more, I believe. So, yeah. That's it.
Wow, that was amazing, Pan. Thank you so, so much. I mean, it's not my dream, but in more ways than you can imagine, it also opened up some insights about my life. And also how to interpret. I'm a big dreamer. Like my dreams are so lucid, like they're just absolutely vivid. It's like I'm there. So and also it's taught me to pay attention to things like that group, the traffic lights being read and stuff. I liked also one thing, Pan, when you said it's your inner child that has the relationship with them, which again speaks to me so much about some chords that we can't sever as adults. But I realize now that it's not because it's defeating me. It's because it's the inner child. And I mean, it's so deeply rooted. I can now, with the efforts I've made to distance myself perhaps from whatever that was toxic, blah, 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 I can now, I think I'm going to be more objective at looking at it as look, let me have an adult perspective on this thing, Yeah, I loved it. Thanks, man.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. And you understand that if she had seen a green light, it would have changed the whole meaning. So that's why it's so important to see exactly what the client is seeing and try and work it out from there. Yeah.
Pan, I want to acknowledge something in you that I've seen not just tonight, but always. And that is the amazingly comfortable way you have of putting people at ease. Right up front, you gave her permission to open up on the basis of this is your calling in life. And just to acknowledge you for that, because that's something that you do so well, and to all of us. And thank you for that.
Yeah, I want to confirm that is the most important element in any therapy and whichever way you do it. Of course, that you are open to your client. How often Pan said, I'm here for you. That opens the client up to you. Without this kind of essential openness towards the client that provokes the client to trust you. In other words, you're not coming with any preconceived idea, or you're not sitting in judgment. You wanting to understand what is happening to them. And that is the basis of the kind of trust that makes your client respond to you by opening up to you and letting you into their world. I want to have a few other responses before I actually have something very important to share in terms of logotherapeutic dream analysis that we as logotherapists will now just more clearly perceive in what Pan had presented to us. Any other comments?
Yeah, I noticed something that it's not just what's going on inside of you, but the calling of how life is calling you comes through in your dreams. So it shows how much we are our hearing that is part of the story, and every detail is important in that it shows that relationship that we have with life, and and that it's all like seamlessly woven together in our imagination, which makes up a story that manifests the feelings and the meaning all together, and I know you were just really helped me understand that better.
I want to commend you as Carol did. From the day I met you, I felt also at ease. I love the way how you helped her to explore how she transcended from her struggle to find her own meaning. I mean, she was the only one that can stand fully in her shoes, and you helped her discover that. And also with the rain in the darkness, rain and water it cleanses you, and it brings feeding, and it refreshes us, and it brings blessings. So even in her darkness, you helped her to see how she can see clearly what the purpose is within the dream she had, so that she can fulfill the calling in her life. And how you helped her to see the symbolic in all of the dreams and items and things to walk her own walk consciously.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I think for me, I'm just concurring with the previous speakers on how, Pam, you have welcomed us and expressed your love, and how it's easy to open up our hearts, and share with you the deepest things that we can't share with anyone else. And I think it's a gift from God, and I appreciate you for that. You walked with me through a very difficult season, and you always just had said the right words, what I needed, that sustained me. And I really appreciate you and love you a lot. And I'm also amazed at the level of detail in how you broke down the dream. I looked at it from a high level, and I could see if there's no shoes, there's no peace, the loss and all that, something is not well with the person. But then listening to how you breaking it down is just, amazing. And I think it's again a gift, that is very necessary for us to have a people who can be able to guide us through our dreams and bring clarity. Yes, the word says that as we lay our head on the pillows, God speaks to us in dreams and visions. And I feel sometimes that's the only way we can get to hear where we are when we are sleeping, because there we seem not to be too busy. And God can use creation, can use any point of contact, relationships. And I had to learn that sometimes when in a dream, some of the figures he's using, it's not literally the figure, but there's a meaning to it. If I dream of my dad, and it might be talking of my relationship that I had that tries to explain something and not physically him. So as you broke down that dream, I think you did it so well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Judith.
I'm keen that Pan should share the last few things with us, but I just wanted to bring this very, to me, provocative realization to the fore. Well, Frankl spoke about the spiritual unconscious, okay? And deeply embedded in us is a will to find meaning in life. And we struggle to do that through so many ways. And in real life, we are confronted by challenging situations. And often, in the deepest of our beings, through the spiritual unconscious, comes an awareness of the direction we have to take or the choices we have to make. Frankl spoke about that we look at dreams like we do at the workings of conscience. In other words, there's a wake-up message while we kind of asleep and, not cognizant fully of what it is we have to do. And exactly the things that we're struggling with then comes out in content in the dream, but always in terms of a new direction, a transformational understanding of what we are to do. And I just, from that point of view, thought about what Pan had shared with us, what Frankl had called unconscious religiosity, unconscious religiousness. And to me, the dream, and you expounded it so beautifully, Pan, but it was a spiritual struggle, a religious struggle. She had been wounded in the area of her religion. It was a pastor that she was working with that turned out to be deceptive and unreliable. And that's why she felt so at a loss, as if she'd lost her spiritual footing. The shoes that she, even when she came out of the a banqueting hall and got it from the housekeeper, she was carrying it. She was still not putting her feet in it. And actually, it's a dream calling for a spiritual redirection in her life, and maybe a deeper understanding of the truth of her belief, and to clarify those truths away from the deceptive kind of belief she may have held, and that wasn't quite on target. And, because one can be in a comfort zone with a specific orientation that you have religiously. And it sometimes, I think the greatest wonder of life is that it corrects us, that it always puts us on a more clearer course, that we learn to discern more sharply in terms of the truth, and we let go of fallacies and even religious lies that we believed, and into a clearer concept of it. And I just felt it was really a religious struggle, and a call for a reorientation to make her calling, which is wanting to serve and to help and to bring the homeless under shelter and to bring people into a sense of meaning in their lives, that mission becomes more purified. So I would love to have pursued, what in her religious views have been shaken. What is it that she feels is calling her into a greater revelation of more pronounced truths with less deception? So that's just an interesting point I thought I wanted to bring to the fore, especially in terms of logotherapy dream analysis, which is always to, like you do, Pan, to help your client onto a clearer road of meaning than what they had before. Our whole lives is a transformation into a greater and greater understanding of the meaning of our lives, so that it can more and more effectively fulfill the peculiar and unique missions that we have in life, without deception, without believing wrong things, without being distracted by, without being, hung up on this, that, or the other. When it becomes a very clarified purpose in life. Okay.
Thank you.
To add to what you're saying, Taria, I think that also it's very important for the client to hear that we are trying to understand them, and that we might even have a very similar experience, and Pan was able to convey that affirmation and that empathy, but without using it to take away from the client's own revelation of the meaning for herself. And that's something that not everybody, it's not always easily done. So it's beautiful.
And Pan is doing it quite uniquely, because Frankl speaks about using the same method as Freud did, free association. In other words, to provoke through asking your client to see what is associated with this particular incident, that the incident then becomes more clarified. And Pan gets that kind of response anyway, but look how provocative she is. She states what she feels the impression is that has been left upon her, and then asks her client to respond to the statement. And then, by way of that, there is then this kind of a free association to get to, the details, to get to the real issue. But that's quite unique, Pan, the way that you are doing your dream analysis.
Can I just reinforce something you said, Batya, that Pan's ability to engage in a story without bringing herself into it it's the cornerstone of listening, of effective listening, and so few people can do that. And I think you picked that up beautifully, and I'd like to just reinforce what you said.
And it's also a unique case because Pan said that she knows the client very well, and have and the client described her as a lifelong friend. So it's also a bit of a different situation. I think every situation is unique, and in this situation, I think Pan, a little bit in contradiction to what you said, Coral, she was very much in the picture, very much sharing, how she thinks the client was feeling, and stressing so strongly, the kind of affirmation of the client, and consoling her in a very, very kind of personal way, which is beautiful. I'm not criticizing it, but I think that, it's depending on your client, you're going to react differently, sometimes very much more forcefully, sometimes very much more quiet, sometimes very much in the picture that you feel the client needs you to be there, which is the case with Pan. The client said, there's nobody that I can share with. So Pan had to put herself very forcefully into the picture of, I'm here, understand, and putting, continually uplifting the client in terms of reassurance and consolation and encouragement, which makes this, like I say, every interchange with a client is totally unique. There's no one way to follow.
And I also just want to say thank you for sharing. What I found really interesting is the communication was via email. And having had an online counseling website for a long time, the depth that one is able to reach just through the written word, and almost the self-distance that comes in naturally, the distance that you write something, you then send it, you wait a period of time, you contemplate what you've sent, the message then comes back from the person. You might be in a slightly different place to be able to respond better because you've had some time between, sending the email, considering receiving your response. You don't necessarily need to respond straight away. You can take some time to really contemplate. So the level of depth that one can reach through writing like that, I think also probably enhanced the dream analysis. And then one other thing that I learned from you tonight was how you bring in the 5 senses into that. Because that also brings you into the present, like, what did I smell? What did I hear? What were the thoughts? What were the sounds? What was the, I thought that was fascinating. So thank you so much, Pam.
Thanks.
Do you want to add something more, Pan?
Well, I was going to just do it as slides, but if you want me to read it, I will. It's about 10 minutes or something.
Whichever way you want.
Should I? Okay. Okay, so it's if you just wanted to know a little bit more about the conversations that we had. So, client, today is Saturday and we have mission. The pastor and his family normally come to eat, but no more, as the brotherly trust and love have been broken. I'm so sorry for my husband because he trusts too much. My client shared some quotes, which she said represented how most people in her life have been. Sometimes it's not the people who change, it's the mask that falls off. Some people who will only love you as much as they can use you. Their loyalty ends where the benefits stop. Fake people don't surprise me anymore. Loyal people do. So then she went on to say also, I think everything you said at some stage in our correspondence, I think everything you said is correct. And I add, the only thing lacking really is the explanation why he robbed us of the joy of celebrating the purchase of the land. And I responded, that wasn't an answer your dream or I could give. It's them who would have to answer to what they have done. Client, my husband is understandably upset and is thinking aloud and not going to let go and let God sort this out. So I travel this road with you as I can't talk to my husband or my friend about it. Holding my shoes is me trying to hold on to a friendship that my husband may break apart because she had a tiny part to play. Client also said, around the corner and could just see the rooftops. My husband pointed them out and I said I could go back. I responded. He's pointing out only half the picture to you. In other words, you are aware that he's seeing only what he wants to and in a position of being above, controlling the situation from his perspective, seeing only the rooftops and not what's going on underneath and or inside the buildings or inside of your heart. You're seeing trees and they represent life, but in your dream, it seems that your view is blocked and threatened by your husband's angry response to what has happened. His focus is only on the darkness and the rooftops, a lofty view. You know that, and it's threatening your sense of peace. Client, and I said I could go back, almost as if you're feeling pressured to make it right on your own, because you know he's not going to. But it's also something you know and desire in your heart to do, to make it right. Client, I got around the corner and everything was black. Notice how you're going around corners to get anywhere. Like there are so many unknowns for you in this situation and so much darkness. You truly are lost for answers as to how to solve what is broken and threatening to become even more broken. You have no idea which way to turn next. Client. And it had somehow rained. I was in a large city and had to cross at stoplights. There was a homeless person lying on the ground under the dumpster bin. I prayed for them. I responded, here I believe comes the meaning message of your dream. Your unconscious and spiritual dimension has played out the events and your true emotions and all, and have arrived at your unique answers on a more conscious level. In that moment, it's like rain is coming upon you to wash away the horror and help you to feel your spiritual truths, a bigger picture, the guiding light of the meaning of your life, your identity. You identify yourself and your past and even your downtrodden situation now in emotionally identifying with the beggar. Client, lying on the ground under the dumpster bin. I responded, you will not leave this person in their suffering. You will not desert yourself and your beautiful spiritual ways. This is the divine power of your human spirit standing up for you in this situation. In caring for the beggar in your dream, you are caring for you in your potential and purpose. You are nurturing your own soul and finding your own answers to the dilemma you are facing. Much needed self-nurturing and with no one else to do it for you but yourself. Client, I managed to find the hotel, but then couldn't remember how to find the banquet room, so asked for housekeeping. I responded, you're bringing some of your strength through faith, but you are still lost for your answers. How could it ever be the same as when you banqueted freely and happily together? Client, I got the shoes and left on the street, couldn't remember which way to turn. I responded, I've been in a similar place of anguish, which she knows about, with the loss of important and cherished family members in my life. I'm still holding on to those shoes. We'll have to think of my symbol for my love for them, maybe flowers. But they made it impossible for me to go back by proving that they didn't need me, by doing nothing to get me back. I needed a reassurance of their love for me, and it never came in the way that would have convinced me. I wish they would have tried. I needed them to know how much I loved and needed them. Now, this isn't so we can open up this subject. I just don't have the time or energy to go there. Too painful. But I wanted to illustrate that I kind of know how devastated you are feeling right now, spiritually torn and bruised, in mourning, as if a severed connection has actually died. It's a very deep-seated and searing emotional pain to bear. I feel just as lost in my own struggle. Client, I knew I'd have to wait for my husband to find me. And then I responded, to get over himself, to then recognize, acknowledge, and respond to your needs in this situation. Near the end of the conversation, my client wrote, so I'm clinging to my shoes because I know that the way ahead will be different. He's not a very forgiving person, holds on to stuff a long time, where I can release it all to the Lord quickly. I just want to know why they didn't tell us of the purchase, which we would have been overjoyed to be part of. I have to leave it in God's hands until the pastor has processed his actions and conduct and can just explain why. I don't need apologies or anything apart from an answer to why, because his choice is causing a ripple effect that will move outward and cause more problems if he doesn't come and explain himself. A huge shame. Choices change everything. Bless you, Pan, and thanks. Love you, my very one and only trusted friend. But now I just want to add one more thing now. I had a last minute question, which I actually asked this person this afternoon, because it just suddenly came to me. I asked her if the beggar was a man or a woman. She responded, I don't know. They were undercovers. I pondered on what they could have meant, what that could have meant for the client in her dream. And it dawned on me that so often our own emotions are expressed symbolically in our dream, as mentioned before. That sense perhaps of feeling out of control and therefore a sense of worthlessness in her struggle to find answers for the awful situation she was facing and wishing it wasn't so, wanting to be heard and feeling invisible, wanting to escape the pain. So subconsciously and symbolically in her dream, my client may have wished she could just hide herself under blankets, covering her over where she could feel safer. But at the same time, the divine power of her human spirit stands up and says, no, that will not do. My life has purpose. I feel the power of my love and will pray for the beggar. She is standing up for herself and giving herself a voice in the matter. I'm not going to just lie down and let the pastor or her husband's reactions or the hurts over her friend's involvement stop me from doing what I love to do. I will not change who I am because of the actions of others. This is me. This is where I belong, being there for others in need. I will not let anyone and any red light stop me from progressing with my life's work. And that's it. Okay.
And, oh,
Yeah.
sorry. What I wanted to ask, I need to understand two things. Did they buy this land for themselves?
Did they
Can you
buy?
hear
Oh,
me?
yes, the priest bought it for himself by the sounds of it. He put it in his wife's name and never told anybody.
Okay. Never told anybody. Who found out? It'll give me more clarity.
My client and her husband found out.
Found out.
Yeah.
Okay. A joint account for this missionary and everyone can sign and take what they want, or is there I mean, who's in charge of the, I know these questions sound strange, but it will organize my brain. In charge of the financial.
I wouldn't know. Yeah, I wouldn't know who's in charge, but I know they were all working together. It's a mission they were running together, as you know.
Okay, so this was an illegal act. And
yeah.
My advice, or what I would do in such a situation where someone that is a friend scars me so badly, is that we need to be prepared in life to grieve the living. You need to be able to draw lines and say, this is not acceptable. It does not work with the way I work. I will have to either cut it out or suffer for a long time for a loss that I didn't cause.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to understand that better, because if they kind of did it for the missionary, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But if they did it privately
and put it in his wife's name. Yeah.
No, terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible situation. Okay, now I understand it better.
Okay.
More clarity.
Thank you. It was very thought provocative, and a lot of us got many new insights and understandings. And we all admire your gift, because it is a gift. Not everyone is so attuned to eliciting unconscious material and making it conscious. But, you know, we take the message of Frankl, which he says it actually is, look at what he said here about existential analysis of dreams. He said, also spiritual phenomena must be brought into consciousness and into responsibleness. Yes, the action that your client is clearly provoked to take is very difficult. I think she's still in the process. Before she is taking a clear spiritual stand. You helped her tremendously, but it's obvious that it's still a very painful issue. You know, that she only understands partially, you know, through projecting it onto the way her husband looks at it. And you know, still carrying her shoes, wanting, should I go back to the old position? I can't. What is my new direction? So it really is you brought all the unconscious spiritual battle to consciousness, and it still is going to clarify into a greater sense of responsibleness. In other words, the moment your client can take a decisive and clear direction in terms of decision, which it seems she's working towards when she told you now in the last, you know, I'm not going to let myself be a beggar under a dustbin and covering myself. I am going to be even more determined in fulfilling my mission. So she's well on with your help on the road to that. So thank you, Pan, and thank you everybody that participated. It was wonderful. Thank you, Pan.
Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone. Okay.
Pan, you made me very aware that in Exodus, Moses took off his shoes in front of the burning bush. So I'm going to take off my shoes and start paying attention to my dreams. Like Frankl said, it's a royal road to the unconscious, offering insight into our deeper layers of meaning and purpose in life. So I'm going to start jotting down my dreams too and start pondering on that too. So thank you for helping me taking off my own shoes in front of my own burning bush.
Wonderful. Beautiful.